Claire Navarro dropped 2 sandwiches and ran. The SUV came through the red doing 60 and she hit the pregnant woman sideways, both of them going down on wet asphalt, and the car blew past close enough that she felt the displaced air. She didn't know whose wife she had just saved. Douglas Holt showed up the following week with a notice that doubled the lease overnight. Claire Navarro had a 6-year-old, a one-eyed rabbit, and a debt she hadn't closed in 3 years. The math hadn't worked yet. Then the bell above the diner door rang. Vincent Mercer placed himself between Claire Navarro and Holt without a word. He had already bought the building. He had already filed the new lease. The only thing he hadn't told her was why the SUV had no license plates. That answer was going to change everything. If something here doesn't close right, hit subscribe and drop a comment if something about this doesn't let you walk away clean. And now, the Real story begins. Some nights don't announce themselves. They just arrive, and afterward everything is divided into before and after. The rain hit the corner of 47th and 9th with the kind of force that made the whole city sound like applause for something nobody asked for. Claire Navarro walked through it with her head down and her uniform coat pulled close. 12 hours at Della's Diner. Feet numb below the ankle, the particular ache in her shoulders that only came with doubles. The plastic bag on her wrist held 2 wrapped grilled cheese sandwiches Della had pressed on her at the end of the shift. Single moms got special treatment. Della never explained this policy. She just followed it. Lily would be asleep on Mrs. Kovacs's couch 3 blocks away. 6 years old and still sleeping with a stuffed rabbit named Gerald, who had 1 remaining button eye and a repaired tear near his left foot and was treated by Lily with the gravity most people reserve for legal documents. Claire was thinking about whether the grocery run could wait until Thursday when she heard the tires. Not braking, accelerating. She turned. The black SUV came through the red on 47th at the kind of speed that said the driver was not afraid of consequences. And in the crosswalk, a woman in a cream coat, both hands pressed over the enormous swell of a very late pregnancy, completely frozen. Claire dropped the sandwiches and ran. She hit the woman with her shoulder, hard, sideways, both of them going down onto wet asphalt together as the SUV blew past close enough that Claire felt the displaced air. Metal hit steel somewhere behind them. A horn, then rain again. The woman was breathing, shaking violently but breathing. "You're okay," Claire said. "Both of you. Stay still." She pushed herself up on scraped palms and looked back at the SUV, stopped now, crumpled against a delivery truck. Steam rose from the hood. The rear of the vehicle faced her. The license plate was completely blank. Not damaged, not dirty. Just blank. An empty rectangle where numbers should have been. She held that thought for later. Sirens arrived fast. Men in dark suits materialized at both ends of the block from vehicles that had been close enough to respond in seconds, which meant they had been close all along. They moved with a precise, practiced focus of people who had trained for exactly this kind of chaos. And at the center of all of it stood a man who made the entire street feel smaller. He was 50-something. Silver ran through dark hair the way weather works in a stone, gradually, completely, without apology. The face of someone who had been making hard decisions for a long time and had learned to carry each one without putting it down. He stood completely still in the middle of the chaos, and every person around him adjusted their orbit without being asked. His eyes swept the intersection and found his wife. Then they found Claire. She was still crouched over the woman on the wet pavement, one hand on the woman's arm. She met his gaze the way she met everything that frightened her, directly, without looking away first. He walked toward them through the rain. He crouched beside his wife and touched her face with a gentleness that seemed to belong to a completely different man. His hand was almost steady. "Vincent," the woman said. "I'm here." His voice was low, controlled, an accent shaped by 2 cities, and underneath it something older. He looked at Claire over his wife's head. "You pushed her out of the way." "Yes, sir," one of his men said quietly. "The driver is gone. Plates were clean." Vincent did not look away from Claire. "I know," he said. "The hospital at 2 in the morning had its own kind of hell breath. Not quiet, exactly, but suspended. Machines and footsteps and the low sound of people waiting to hear whether the thing they were afraid of had happened. The ultrasound confirmed what the paramedics had cautiously hoped. Sophia Mercer and the baby were safe. No internal injuries. Strong heartbeat. When the doctor delivered the news, Vincent stood at the foot of the bed and said nothing for a moment. Then he pressed 2 fingers briefly against the side of his jaw, a gesture that lasted less than a second. And Claire understood she had just seen the most private thing this man was willing to show in front of another person. She sat in a chair near the window with bandaged palms in her lap while the city outside blurred through rain. She had called Mrs. Kovacs. Lily was asleep and safe. That was the only calculation that mattered. "She's asking for you," Vincent said from the doorway. Sophia was sitting up against the pillows, one hand still resting on her stomach, as if she couldn't stop checking. She reached for Claire the moment she walked in and held on. "You ran toward it," Sophia said. "Most people run the other way. I didn't think. If I had, I probably would have been smarter about it." Sophia laughed, surprised by her own laugh, and then surprised that she could. Somewhere behind Claire, Vincent turned toward the sound. They sat together until the worst of the shock had passed. When Claire finally stood to leave, Vincent met her in the corridor and held out a paper cafeteria bag without a word. "Turkey sandwich," he said. She accepted it because she was too tired to argue, and because her stomach had apparently decided that dignity was a luxury for people who hadn't been awake for 19 hours. They sat in plastic chairs under fluorescent light, and he asked careful questions, not about the accident, but about her. He had already had someone run her name. She suspected this. It unsettled her less, and it should have. She told him about Daniel the way she always told it, simply, without softening it or dramatizing it. Quel accident. 3 years ago. Lily was 3. It was fast. She held on to that. He didn't try to fill the silence afterward. She appreciated that more than she could have explained. When he reached in his coat, she shook her head before the envelope was out. "No," she said. He looked at her for a moment with the expression of a man who was not often told no and had decided to find it interesting rather than offensive. He put the envelope away. He drove her home just before 6. She got out in front of her building and looked at it the way she always looked at it after long shifts, honestly, without pretending. Rusted fire escapes, flickering lobby light, the crack in the 3rd-floor window she had been meaning to report for 8 months. "It's fine," she said before he could. "I know," he said. "You made it fine." She looked at him once more, then went inside. By 7, she was at the kitchen table with overdue bills spread under bad light and an electric notice blinking red warnings, calculating the math the way she had been calculating it for 3 years. It hadn't gotten easier. She had just gotten better at it. She was still at the table when she heard the diner open below, Della unlocking for the morning rush. Claire put on her second uniform and went down the back stairs. Douglas Holt was already sitting at the counter. He was 52, a compact man with an expensive haircut and the face of someone who had learned to smile without it reaching his eyes. He owned 4 properties on this block and had recently acquired the company that held the building Della sat in. He had fired Claire 2 years ago from his restaurant on 54th. She had never fully worked out whether it was because she had declined his invitation to dinner or simply because he enjoyed exercising power over people who needed their jobs. The diner was half full. He knew that. "Lease renewal," he said, stirring his coffee. "New rate is twice what you and Della are paying. Starts next month." He set down his spoon. "Or we begin eviction proceedings." A measured pause. "Thought I'd tell you in person." Claire put her order pad on the counter. She looked at him for a moment. "I'll let Della know," she said. Her voice was perfectly steady. She went back into the kitchen and stood at the sink for 40 seconds before she trusted herself to move again. The math, which was already hard, had just gotten significantly worse. Vincent called 3 days later. Unknown number. 8 in the morning. "I want to make sure you are well," he said. "I'm Eufine." A pause. "How did you get this number?" "Hospital intake forms." He sounded entirely unconcerned by this. "Sophia would like to see you when she's rested, if you're open to it." She was, though she couldn't entirely explain why. They met at a cafe in the West Village 2 weeks later, a Sunday morning, winter light coming pale through the windows. Sophia was better, color returned, hands wrapped around chamomile tea, laughing at something Lily had just announced about why dinosaurs deserved a second chance. Lily had worn her cartoon star sweater and brought Gerald, tucked under her arm with the gravity of an important appointment. Vincent arrived midway through. Sophia had told him where they were. He came with the quiet certainty of a man who didn't need an official invitation, not intrusively, just honestly. He greeted Sophia first, then Claire, then crouched to Lily's level and said hello in the measured way of someone who had not spent much time with 6-year-olds and was proceeding with appropriate care. Lily studied him for 90 seconds. Then she held Gerald out with both hands. "You can borrow him," she said. "He helps when things are hard." Vincent looked at the rabbit, at Lily. Then he accepted it with both hands and the full solemnity the gesture required. "I'll take good care of him," he said. "His ear goes flat when he's worried," Lily told him. "So you'll know how he's doing." Something crossed Vincent's face then, brief, unguarded, the expression of a man who had not been spoken to like this in longer than he could accurately recall. 2 weeks after that, Lily needed her tonsils out. Outpatient, minor, the doctor said it twice to be reassuring. $800 out of pocket, and Claire had already moved money 3 times that month, try and cover Holt's new rate and keep the lights on. She worked at double the night before the procedure and smiled at every customer and did not let herself count the gap more than once. The morning of the surgery, while Claire was upstairs doing Lily's hair and talking her through what the recovery would feel like, so there wouldn't be any surprises, Vincent walked into Della's below. He spoke briefly to Della. He paid the diner's overdue heating utility bill in cash, directly, to the account, in a way that couldn't technically be refused or returned. He left before Claire came down. Lily saw him from the kitchen window. She watched him get into his car and drive away. She said nothing until that evening, when Claire was tucking her in after the surgery and the ice cream and the 2 hours of cartoons Lily had negotiated as medical necessity. "The tall man came today," Lily said. "He paid for something and then left before you could say no." Claire sat with that for a long moment. "How do you know what he paid for?" "I heard him tell Della." Lily turned Gerald over in her hands. "He didn't want you to know it was him." Claire said nothing. In the corner of the diner near the register, one of Vincent's security detail had been present during the visit. A compact, careful man named Marco Reyes who always stood slightly apart from the others. When Della had mentioned that Claire was the woman who had saved Mrs. Mercer, Marco had gone very still. Not alarmed, not guilty, just still, the way a person went still when they heard something that required recalculating. No one was watching him. There was no reason to be. She stopped returning his calls for 10 days. Not because she was angry, because she had felt, somewhere between the eviction notice and the lawyer consultation, she couldn't afford, in the particular weight of being a person who needed things, the dangerous pull of relief, the feeling that someone else was there. She had felt that once before when Daniel was alive. When it ended, she had spent a year building a version of herself that needed nothing she could lose. Lily required her functional. Functional meant not leaning. The lawyer said the eviction case was weak, but not dismissible. $2,000 to fight. 6 months of proceedings. Both numbers were impossible in different ways. She went home and sat at the kitchen table after Lily was asleep and looked at the bills the way she sometimes looked at hard math, already knowing the answer, still hoping the numbers would rearrange themselves out of decency. Sophia called on a Wednesday afternoon, not about Vincent. She called the way a person called when they had been thinking about something for a while and finally decided to say it. "I want to tell you something," Sophia said. "About me, not about him. Is that all right?" "Yes," Claire said. "I used to design public gardens. Before New York, before all of this, I had a small practice in Philadelphia. 7 years building it from nothing." She paused. "When Vincent and I moved, I told myself I could continue remotely. I told myself that for about 8 months before I understood that some things don't travel." Another pause, shorter than the first. "I don't say this to make you feel sorry for me. I say it because I made that choice knowing what it cost. I looked at what was on the other side of being afraid, and I decided it was worth it. And it has been, but it cost something real. I want you to know I understand what that means." Claire looked at the window. The pharmacy sign across the street had started flickering again. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because you've been running toward things your whole life, Sophia said. The night of the accident. Every double shift. The way you looked at that eviction notice in the diner and put your phone down without making a sound so your daughter wouldn't know. You run toward everything except the one thing standing right in front of you. Claire said nothing. He put that rabbit on his desk, Sophia said. Right corner, next to the photograph from our wedding. He doesn't keep things. He says sentiment is a liability. She let that sit for a moment. He kept the rabbit. I don't want to be someone he fixes, Claire said finally. I know, Sophia said. Her voice was quiet and specific. The voice of someone speaking from experience, rather than opinion. Neither did I. He's not trying to fix you. He's trying to figure out how to be someone you'd choose. After the call ended, Claire stood at the kitchen window for a long time. 3 days later, after the school pickup, she stopped on the sidewalk across from Della's. A man was standing at the corner opposite the diner's entrance. Not on his phone, not waiting for anyone, just standing, watching the building with the practiced stillness of someone professionally trained to hold position. He was wearing civilian clothes, jeans, a dark jacket, but the stillness was not civilian. She recognized him after a moment. Marco Reyes, one of Vincent's men, the one who always stood slightly apart. She watched him for 10 seconds. He turned and walked away before she crossed the street, with the unhurried pace of a man who had finished what he came to do. She thought about the blank license plate on the SUV. She thought about Marco going still at the diner when he heard her name. That night, she called Vincent. One of your men has been watching the diner, she said. A pause. I know. He's been pulled back. Why was he there? A longer pause. There are things I'm still resolving. Well, I can tell you safely, I will. I promise you that. All right, she said. She meant it. Then, I need help with the lease. Not charity. A loan I'll repay. Yes. Good. She looked at Lily's drawing on the refrigerator. 3 figures of different heights. A horse. Something that might have been a rocket. And when you know more, I want to know too. You will, he said. I promise. She went to his office on a Tuesday, 17 days before the eviction deadline. The building was midtown, older than it looked from the outside, the kind of address that didn't advertise itself. The lobby was marble and quiet. A man in a suit took her up in a private elevator without asking her name. Vincent was at his desk when she was shown in. Afternoon light, gray December coming through tall windows. The city laid out 40 floors below. The office was spare. Dark wood, 2 chairs, a view that cost more than she would see in a decade. On the desk's top right corner, Gerald, slightly flattened, ear visible from the doorway. She sat across from him and put the eviction notice on the desk. Douglas Holt has been maneuvering to clear this block for 2 years, she said. The lease violation is fabricated. I need your attorneys to review it, and I need a loan to cover legal fees if we fight it, which I will repay. I know Douglas Holt, he said. I assumed you might. He looked at the eviction notice. He owns 17 properties in a 3-block radius. He's been consolidating them under a development company for 2 years. The violation he's citing doesn't exist in your lease. He set the paper down. I can have my attorneys look at this today. Good. She looked at Gerald on the corner of his desk. There's something else. Yes, he said. She looked at him. The blank plate on the SUV. Your man watching the diner. There is something you haven't told me. He was quiet, not evasive. Thinking. There is, he said, and I will tell you everything. But I need a few more days to be certain before I do. His eyes were steady and direct. I'm asking you to trust me until then. She held his gaze. A few days. Yes. Not longer than that. She sat with it. He was not deflecting. He was asking for something specific with a specific end. She could feel the difference between those two things. All right, she said. A few more days. He nodded once. She stood, then stopped. That first night in the hospital, she said, when the doctor told you they were safe and you went quiet. She looked at him. What did you feel? He was still for a moment. He looked at Gerald on the corner of the desk. Like I had been given back something I hadn't known I had been terrified of losing, he said. She nodded slowly. Then she crossed the desk and picked up Gerald. Held him for a moment, both hands, the way you held something that had been somewhere important and come back. Then she set him down carefully. Handle the lease, she said. I'll pay you back. She walked to the door. He said her name once. She turned. The first time Lily handed me that rabbit, he said quietly, was the first time in years I didn't know what to do with my hands. She held that for a moment. Then she nodded and left. Vincent called on a Thursday evening in the third week of December. "Come to the townhouse," he said. "Sophia will be there. She wants to be there when I tell you." When Claire arrived, Sophia was already on the couch with her feet up, 8 months along, both hands around a cup of tea she wasn't drinking. She had insisted on being present. Vincent explained quietly in the hallway. She had known for 3 days and had spent that time deciding that Claire deserved to hear it with her in the room. Sophia looked at Claire when she sat down. "I know what it's like to be the last one told," she said. "I didn't want that for you." Vincent stood near the window. He did not sit while he told it. Marco Reyes had been with him for 11 years. Long enough to know exactly which strings to pull and exactly how to make the pulling look like something else. He had made contact with a rival faction 18 months ago, around the same time Douglas Holt had begun acquiring properties on Claire's block. The connection between them was a single name, a real estate attorney who had worked for both separately, and then together and quietly brokered what came next. The plan had been precise. Sophia's death would be staged as an attack by a rival family. Vincent would retaliate. The conflict would last long enough to make the neighborhood untenable. Holt's company would acquire the devalued properties inside 60 days. They chose that intersection, Vincent said, because it's 3 blocks from Dulles. The escalation was planned to begin on your block. Claire sat very still. Sophia had been crying quietly for several minutes. She reached across the couch and touched Claire's hand. "If you hadn't run," Sophia said, "the plan goes forward. The war starts. Everything on your street. Your building. Mrs. Kovacs. The school." She stopped. "You saved all of it. Not just me." Claire looked at the coffee table. At Gerald, who Lily had left on the couch 2 visits ago, and who sat there now with his flattened ear and his one-button eye. She picked him up. "Holt knew," she said. "That's why he accelerated the eviction after the accident. The plan failed, so he kept going the slow way." "Yes," Vincent said. She thought about her building, about Mrs. Kovacs and the school 3 blocks away, and the pharmacy sign that flickered in the corner where Daniel used to wait for her after late shifts before everything changed. She had been walking through a Target for months without knowing it. "Is it over?" she said. "Marco is in custody. Not ours. The rival faction withdrew when the exposure became too high. Holt has no backing left." Vincent paused. "It's over." She looked at Gerald for a long moment. "I saw the blank plate," she said. "The night of the accident. I noticed, and I didn't know what to do with it. My people found it in your statement. And Marco going still in the diner when he heard my name. He realized you were a variable he hadn't accounted for. A civilian who is now close to me." She held Gerald tighter. Then she set him down on the couch beside her carefully and looked at Vincent. "You kept your promise," she said. "You told me when you knew. I told you the moment I was certain you were safe," he said. "That was the order I had to do it in." She looked at him for a long moment. This man who had been managing something enormous and invisible while sitting on kitchen floors and accepting rabbits with both hands and driving her home through the rain. "Okay," she said. "Okay. I'm not running." She looked at him steadily. "I just needed to know the whole thing." Sophia took Claire's hand without saying anything. The 3 of them sat in the quiet of the house while the city outside went on doing what cities did, indifferent and continuous. After a while, Claire picked Gerald up again and smoothed his flattened ear. "His ear's been flat this whole time," she said. "He's been worried," Vincent said. "Yeah," she said softly. "Me too." Douglas Holt came to the diner on a Monday morning. He was carrying a legal envelope. He had brought a man from his attorney's office, young, carefully neutral, carrying a second copy. The diner was half full, same as the first time. He sat at the counter again. Same stool. Della was in the kitchen. Claire was on the floor, refilling coffees. "Final notice," Holt said when she reached him. He slid the envelope across the counter. 30 days has run. Proceedings begin today." He looked at his coffee. "You can save yourself some difficulty by vacating by the end of the week." Claire put down a coffee pot. She looked at him directly, not with heat, not with fear, with the particular quality of attention she gave to things she had already made her decision about. "I'll open it later," she said. "There's nothing in it that changes what I just told you." "I know," she said. "I'll open it later." The bell above the door rang. Vincent walked in. He was wearing a dark coat, no tie, the unhurried bearing of someone who had nowhere urgent to be and had decided to be here instead. He looked at Claire first, just to confirm she was all right, and then he walked to the counter and stood between Holt and Claire. Physically, he did not touch Holt. He did not speak to him. He simply placed himself there, between Harm and her, and looked at Douglas Holt the way a man looked at something he had already finished deciding about. The attorney's assistant took a small step backward without being asked. Holt looked at Vincent for a long moment. "You have no business here," Holt said. "I own the building," Vincent said. "I bought it 6 days ago. The new lease, at the original rate, was filed with the city yesterday." He reached into his coat and set a folded document on the counter beside the coffee pot. "This supersedes everything in that envelope." Holt stared at the document. Something moved across his face, not surprise exactly, but the expression of a man who had run out of moves and was only now admitting it to himself. "You'll be hearing from my attorneys," he said. "I expect so," Vincent said. "They can contact mine." Holt took his envelope, stood, and walked out. The attorney's assistant followed. The bell rang twice. The diner was very quiet for a moment. Then someone at the back refilled their own coffee, and the ordinary noise of the morning resumed. Claire looked at the document on the counter, then at Vincent. "You could have told me about the building," she said. "I was waiting for you to ask for less than you deserved," he said. "I want to make sure I gave it before you." "Did?" She looked at him for a long moment. "The loan is forgiven." "Vincent, it isn't charity," he said. "It's what you're owed for saving the life of the person I love most in the world. Call what you want." From the kitchen, Lily burst through the swinging door. She had been dropped off by Mrs. Kovacs 20 minutes ago for preschool breakfast and had been waiting with considerable restraint. She took one look at Vincent and launched herself across the diner floor. He caught her. He had gotten better at this. The catching, the automatic steadying of his arms to meet the weight of her. He held her with the ease of someone who had been doing it for much longer than 3 months. "Gerald is at home today," Lily announced. He had a feeling this was going to be a good day, and he didn't want to miss it. "Smart rabbit," Vincent said. Della came out of the kitchen with a dish towel over her shoulder and looked at the three of them, then at the document on the counter. She picked it up and read it. She sat back down. She pointed at Vincent. "You," she said. "Coffee. On the house. For the rest of your life." "I'll take it," he said. 3 days before Christmas, Claire brought Lily to the townhouse for dinner. It was not a special occasion, except that it was. Sophia had made the table, and Lily had strong opinions about the placement of the napkins, and Vincent had been in the kitchen since the afternoon, following a recipe Sophia had left open on the counter, doing the work with the careful attention of someone learning a language they had always meant to study. After dinner, Lily disappeared with Sophia to look at the baby's room, recently painted and extensively opinionated about, and Claire and Vincent were left alone in the kitchen with the remains of a good meal and the quiet that had been building between them, steady and patient, for 3 months. She washed dishes. He dried them. This was not discussed. It simply happened the way things happened between people who had been moving gradually toward ordinary together. "I've been thinking about what you said," she said, "about the night in the hospital. What you felt when the doctor gave the news." He waited. "You said it. Felt like being given back something you didn't know you'd been terrified of losing." She handed him a bowl. "I think that's the most honest thing you've ever said to me." "It probably is," he said. "I've been terrified of things too," she said. "For 3 years I've been very good at not naming them." She handed him the last dish and turned off the water and leaned against the counter looking at him. "I don't know what this is yet," she said. "I'm not in a hurry to name it, but I'd like to find out." She paused. "If you would." He set the dish down. "I would," he said. "I have been for some time." She smiled. Not a performance of it, but the real, unhurried version that arrived before she decided whether to let it. "I know," she said. "You weren't subtle. I thought I was being very subtle. You sat on my kitchen floor and lost at cards on purpose for 3 months. I was letting her win." "I know." She looked at him. "That's the part that wasn't subtle." Lily came back into the kitchen at a run, socks sliding on the marble floor. Gerald clutched her chest. She skidded to a halt between them, looked at Claire, looked at Vincent, and performed the rapid assessment of a 6-year-old who had been watching this particular situation develop with enormous patience and felt the time had come to take action. She held Gerald out to Vincent with both hands. "You can keep him," she said. "Not borrow. Keep." Vincent looked at the rabbit. At Lily. "Are you sure?" "Yes." Lily said it the way she said things she had already decided. "We're not going anywhere, so he doesn't need to travel anymore." Something moved in Vincent's face, slow and quiet, the kind of thing that didn't announce itself. He crouched to Lily's level and accepted Gerald with both hands, the way he had the first time, with exactly the same solemnity she had given it. "Thank you," he said. "I'll take good care of him. His ear will stay normal now," Lily said, "because there's nothing to worry about." She kissed the top of the rabbit's head, then ran back to find Sophia, leaving the kitchen to the two of them and the particular quiet of a house that was being used the way houses were meant to be used. Vincent stood with Gerald held in both hands. He looked at Claire. She crossed the room and took his hand, the first time she had reached for him first, and held it. "It's not too late," she said. "No," he said. "I don't think it is." Outside, the city did what it always did, continuous, indifferent, brilliant. Somewhere 3 blocks away, Della's was closing for the night, lights going dark in the window above the new lease that bore Claire's name. Mrs. Kovacs had already gone to bed. The pharmacy sign on the corner still flickered in the cold. And in a warm kitchen on the Upper East Side, a woman who had learned to need nothing held the hand of a man who had spent decades building walls, and neither of them let go.